like Tom, have been doing this a long time. I did my very first voiceover job in California when I was 15. And it was a bit of direct marketing. I needed money to pay for my acting classes. And my mom said, you know, there's a place over there. They do a lot of radio commercials. And I just started calling every Friday afternoon at 2 o'clock, set a little goal. And I called for about 5 weeks in a row. Hi, my name is Anna and I'm an actress and I'm 15 and I'd like to do voiceovers. And one day the assistant who was answering the phone said, you know what, you've been so good about calling and you sound very, sweet and nice. I'm going to put you through to our guy, Chuck Bloor, who has since passed, but he was a legend in the business at the time. And he said, well, you sound adorable. Come in tomorrow. Oh my goodness. And the rest is history. So I was very, very fortunate. I grew up in Los Angeles. So the idea of being an actor is very natural thing for me to do. My mom was a dancer. My father was an architect. My stepdad was in the music business. So the idea of making money and marrying the creative arts with business has always been something my family's always done. So I'm very lucky that way that, if I'd said, well, Mom, I want to go into banking, she'd go, what? Wait, let me take you to circus school. What are you talking about? So I'm very, very lucky. But that said, believe me, I can use every single bit of information Tom Deere has to share with us in all those grown-up areas. Believe me, I need
the grown-up areas.
All the grown-up areas, I need that as well. But in terms of creatively, my favorite thing to tell people about voiceover is because I started so young and because I grew up in LA and then I wanted to spend time in New York as an actress, I have been able to be truly a bi-coastal actor for let's just say more than 20 years, let's say, like way more, a bit more. And what's made that possible for me is my voiceover work, my work in animation, my work in commercials, my work in radio. I've never actually done e-learning and all that. I look forward to it. But my main areas of endeavor have always been in commercials and in animation, in character things, which I love. And my approach, as everyone knows, is it really is voice acting. It really is that basic thing of, who are you talking to? What's your point of view about people, places, objects, and events you're talking about? I find it helps all of my other acting work as well, because it gives me a really healthy respect to words on the page. And I think of them almost like notes in a song that, you don't have to hit every single note, but it really does help you from just kind of like winging it. You can make decisions about how you're going to present copy. And it's very fun and exciting. So now I'm based in New York. I've been here about 8 years based here, but I do go back and forth a lot. And now with the, innovations of everyone working from home, it's even easier than ever because it's truly, as Tom will tell you, the world is open now. Like it's global, global, global. I like to brag. I have a student in Arizona who has 8 agents across the country, and she has 4 agents in Europe. And she does work for all of them out of her closet in Arizona, which is a miracle. Amazing. So I love that. So it's a very good time to be in voiceover, a very good time, I think.
Cool. And tell us a little bit about your journey to layer coaching in addition to you as a blue collar voice actor.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm sure anyone who's in voiceover has had this happen where friends say, how do you get into that? What do I have to do? Or can I just pick your brain, which I think is a very unfortunate phrase. Like, no, I don't want you picking my brain. No. Or they say, can I buy you a cup of coffee? You could talk to me about voiceover. And I would say, okay, it's a bigger conversation than a cup of coffee. It's a bigger conversation than just having lunch, actually. And so I started teaching a class basically for my friends initially, way back in the day. And then kind of naturally out of that, people started saying, well, gee, these classes are so great. Can you help me put my demo together? And I went, oh, well, sure. Okay. So again, that's something I started just because there was, I don't even want to say a market for it, but as people get good at reading copy and doing things, it's a logical step. And one of the things that's so fun about teaching and doing demos with people that I'm very proud of is helping people match the current market and where they fit in the market specifically, and also where they can expand out beyond their thing so that they have a really competitive idea of where they can fit and how they can, where their sweet spot is and where the little bonus areas are. So it just came out of that. I started teaching friends, and then friends sent friends. And, to this day, most of my students, they're all, I've never really done any formal advertising per se, but, it's very lucky to be listed in Backstage 2 years in a row as one of the top voiceover teachers in both LA and New York. Super
Wow.
proud.
Yeah.
And just that it's just little me. I'm not part of a giant studio thing.
Right.
I'm just a working actor who loves to help my other fellow actors get work and have fun doing it and be excited, not be intimidated, and to see the joy in it, because it's all about communicating, and that's what we want to do as actors anyway.
It's
So
funny.
it's very organic.
That's awesome. That is an awesome story. For me, I called it karmic penance. Because, I struggled mightily for a long time because I made all of my decisions out of insecurity or ego or ignorance or some stereotypical depiction of what the voiceover industry should be. But when my career turned the corner and I really started to become successful, I started doing cost benefit analysis. I would break down all the voiceover work that I would get, and I break it down by genre, which is when I discovered that, e-learning is like a really good avenue for me. And I also tracked how I got the work. Did I get it through an agent? Did I get it through a casting site? Did I get it through my direct marketing efforts? And what I discovered was that 50% of the revenue I was generating could ultimately be traced back to a fellow voice actor recommending me. So, this zero-sum Highlander, there can be only one, got to beat the competition stuff, at least to me in the voiceover industry, I think is a lot of nonsense.
Yeah.
And if I wasn't for fellow voice actors guiding, supporting me, giving me advice, recommending me, oh, you should call that agent, they've got a spot for you. Oh, I'm not right for this part, you audition for it. I don't know if I'd still be in the voiceover industry, because that was kind of the real foundation. So I decided I needed to give back. And I started what I called the Good Karma Network, which was like a Yahoo group. So that's how long ago this was. And then it started to evolve and grow into what it is now, which is the VO Strategist, voiceover business and marketing consultant. So it was organic. Well, I mean, the contrivance of the Good Karma Network and the branding of VO Strategist obviously is its own. Obviously I made a decision to do that, but it came out of a very organic, like, I need to take care of the people that took care of me. And I need to be kind and pay it forward to the people that are trying to enter the voiceover industry. And I want to be as kind and giving to them as everyone was to me, because I truly believe that there is no competition in the voiceover industry. I think there's plenty of work for everybody that knows what they're doing. The problem is that most people don't know what they're doing. So, which is why there's people like you to help give them the basics of voiceover performance and genre proficiency, and I'm here to help with the grown-up stuff. You know what I mean? So it's interesting how our journeys are. Okay, so cool. So everybody, for those of you who are here, if you have any voiceover questions for Anna regarding cartoons, video games, voice acting in general, coaching techniques, the New York life, the LA life, any of that, you are obviously welcome to type away. And if you happen to have any business or marketing related questions about the voiceover industry, if you want to ask me about casting sites or other genres or pay to play or time management or marketing tips or any of that stuff, you are welcome to dive in and ask your questions. And if you're not, Anna and I will just kibitz for 45 minutes because we're buddies. How large of a market is there for demons, demon lords, and villains in general? Is it ultra saturated? As in, you have the kind of voice that's appropriate to do that kind of character work, or are you just messing with us? Sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yes.
Well, then why don't we take that, which could be perceived as a bizarre mess with this question, Anna, and talk about how do you help voice actors discover their sound or discover their voices, as in archetypes of like,
a demon versus
an Irish
boy.
astronaut versus a 5-year-old girl. So talk to us about that process.
Sure. Well, the main thing I think that if people ask me, first off, to answer your question, I think there is more work than ever for demons, demon lords, villains, because I think there's more work than ever for games, for anime, for animation all over the world. It's the biggest market. It's much bigger than the movie business, and just gotten bigger and bigger and bigger over COVID. So I think there's a tremendous amount of work available now and also I completely agree with Tom that there is no competition when you audition for things. Absolutely no competition, because nobody sounds like you. Even if you have your demon voice, it's going to be a little bit different than everybody else's. So you're already ahead of the game. Now I find that people don't pay enough specific attention to what's actually on the air. That's the biggest problem I find people have. They think they know what a demon voice sounds like. They think they know what a villain sounds like. They think they know what a demon lord sounds like. And it's different depending what show you're watching, what game you're watching, what network you're watching. It's all slightly different. So the very first thing I tell everyone to do is sit down, watch specific shows that have these characters, specific games, things like that, and take notes on them. Literally take notes, because you're going to find that all the demons are sort of a demon voice, you might say, but they're all going to have very distinct personalities. There's the Alan Rickman kind of demon, the sly, slick kind of demon. And then there's the, I've got a giant voice, there's that kind of guy. There's all these different things. And chances are your range is bigger than you think. And chances are the emphasis on more natural sounding voices is more than you think, which takes us back to, it all comes into the acting, right? Yep. What is your demon's attitude? How did they become evil? Why are they evil? What do they want? Just like you would break down a regular character, because the voice will follow. I'm very big on having your intention and your character's background gives you the voice. Does your character talk really quick? Do they talk very slowly? Are they very sadistic? Or sometimes a demon can be very smiley and wonderful, and just the nicest thing. And other ones are overtly scary. Some are absolute nerds. There's not one kind of demon voice. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. You might think it's all big, giant, hello, but that's just part of it. What, don't you find that, Tom?
Absolutely. When you started talking about this reminds me of the Constantine movie with Keanu Reeves. And I don't know if you know the movie, but
yes, I do.
The devil shows up at the end. And it's that great German actor whose name escapes me. He's been in a billion movies, and he's wearing a white suit with a black handkerchief, bare feet. And he's got a minimum amount of makeup on. And he's like, John, so nice to see you, John. Hi, John. He helps him light his cigarette. And, how you been? He's like, oh, busy, because he's collecting Toro souls and torture, just being horrible. You know what I mean? And then a little bit of the devil, like the real monster behind him, shows up like a little bit later. But it was so creepy. And it was so delightful. It was such a wonderfully understated performance. He was just having a chin wag with this guy, and then I reached back to Legend, the Tom Cruise movie where Tim Curry played the demon, and he had the gigantic 6-foot horns, and he was all like this. And he would, but even in those, when he was having little conversations trying to woo the princess, he was being kind, even though he looked demonic. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and remember too, this is an important thing for all kinds of characters you're playing, but particularly demons. Tom brings up a great point about just having a conversation. One of the big mistakes I find that people make when they're playing bad guys or monsters or things like that, they do everything yelling. And how about that you're actually in the cartoon or in the game, you're standing right next to the person that you're talking to. So now sometimes you're on a mountaintop calling up to lightning and thunder and creating a whole thing. Sometimes you're just quiet in a little castle with a cauldron, talking to yourself. So it's very, very important across the board to really have a sense of location. Where are you? Because your tone of voice, your volume is going to be very different if you're talking in a secretive type situation, if you're talking in front of 1,000 minions that are your bad guys, if you're talking from a cloud, where are you, and where are the people or persons or other characters, how close or how far away are they to you? It's very important to do that, because otherwise people just get a voice and a volume and they do that all the way through.
Right.
And there's no nuance, and it's boring. It gets, you turn off.
Yep. It's called indicating. If all you're doing is indicating, and you're not in you're an actor on stage and you just go, it's cold. It's like, really? What is that? What I mean? So you can have a big character, but if it's too much of a caricature,
yes,
that's not grounded and it's not
yes,
inhabited, nobody's going to buy it.
yes.
You
I mean,
know?
the great example is, Darth Vader. I mean, my God, how calm, how quiet. That's a great example of someone, obviously James Earl Jones with, giant voice. He didn't have to, his instrument is like a cello. He
Mm,
didn't have to do a lot. Now, if
yep.
you're someone who doesn't naturally have that voice, right, then you can find another way to be your kind of bad guy. And then you can work on learning the technique for when you are called upon to have that big monster voice. Another thing I think is fun with demons and villains, particularly if you're playing the kind of the Alan Rickman sadistic kind of character, is you can be talking very calmly and then you can find one word to get really angry about, and then you go back to normal.
Right.
Just one word sometimes, because that's the beauty of cartoons, right? Someone will be talking and suddenly their face takes up the whole screen, is giant, and comes back down. So that's the fun thing too to think about.
Right. And because especially if your voice, whatever you do with that script, and you have that, little brief psychotic outburst, you're giving the animators meat on the bone. You're giving them a chance to play. And if it's all la or it's all la, but if it's like, if there's a lot over here and it's fast over here and it's slow over here and it's nuanced over here and blatant over there, you're building a true character. Because it's obviously cartoons is a visual medium. So they are seeing, what you're hearing, and any decent production company, as Anna will know, they record the voiceover first and then they animate.
Yes. And so I talk a lot about pace, changing pace, because everybody wants things that are grounded in reality right now. Even if it's a big, insane kind of crazy voice, they want to feel like it's an authentic character that talks that way. And one of the best things you can do for that is play with pace, which is what Tom was talking about, not doing everything just the same. So if you play with pace, it makes it sound like you're thinking in real time. And it does give animators something to do. It gives animators an idea about how to make your character move. I have a funny little bit of copy where it's a squirrel that's taunting a cat. And at the end of it, the squirrel says, oh, you want some of this big fluffy tail? You want it? Well, you can't have it because the cat's behind glass. And it's better if you go, yeah, you want some of this big fluffy tail? You want it? Well, you can't have it. So it sounds like he's turning around, flashing his big bum at the cat, and then turning back, all in the voice. So think a lot about how your character is moving through the space. It's a really good thing to think about.
We gesture all the time. We go over here and we go like this. You know what I mean? We make, as people, we gesticulate. And there's no reason why your cartoon characters wouldn't. If anything, they do it more, and they do it much bigger, and they do it much broader with a lot more dynamism.
Yes.
You know what I mean? The bigs are bigger, the smalls are smaller, the slows are slower, the fasts are faster, right, Anna?
Exactly right. Exactly. I say it's all very real and authentic, but heightened. Everything's a little heightened. And that's the fun of it. Because the other mistake I find that people make now with creating characters, because you're told so often, we just want it real. My favorite is when they say, don't act, we want it like in a movie. I'm like, okay, people are acting in a movie, just so you know.
Yeah, they're just
But that
good
doesn't mean passive. Yes, that doesn't mean passive. It doesn't mean don't make any choices. So it's about finding that sweet spot, and again, variety, gesturing, thinking about how you're moving physically in the room, in the space with who you're talking to. All of that is going to inform, and it'll make it way more fun as you create your characters as well.
Because if it's on film, if you're on film, it's here and here. On TV, it's also here and here. In theater, you're standing and have to project. It's here and here. And when you're in a cartoon, often it's blah, 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 all over the place. That's a sweeping generalization, but you know what I'm talking about. Cool. Let's go on our next question. Amy says, I just finished my animation demo. Congratulations.
Yes.
How would you suggest starting to get my footing in animation realm in regards to bookings and also agent submissions?
Well, that is a Tom question. I'll tell you that for sure.
All right. So let's talk about that. So there are 3 ways that voiceover projects are cast. I call them portals. So here's here's, Rick and Morty, which is an interesting example to use right now. What is the portal that connects me or you to get the casting opportunities to be on Rick and Morty? or any other cartoon. So there's 3 portals in the voiceover industry. There's representation, online casting sites, and direct marketing. So representation, agents, managers. I also include casting directors in there because even though they don't directly represent you, they regularly advocate for you. So I'm sure Anna can speak to this experience, is that I'll get an audition from a manager, one of my managers or one of my agents, and they'll say, hey, this casting director asked for you, which increases your chance of getting cast because you've demonstrated a body of work and the casting director knows, oh, Tom or Anna would be right for this. So they'll say, hey, make sure you send this to Tom or Anna. You know what I mean? So there's that. Online casting sites, the ones we're most familiar with are the pay-to-play sites. And then there's direct marketing where there's no intermediary or buffer between you and the casting opportunities, which means you're going straight to the production company or the recording studio or the ad agency or the marketing firm. And their job is to create content for the end client, which is whoever has this, hey, we're an e-learning test development company. We need to make these English learner, language learner tests. We have the scripts. We need you to help us find, cast, and record voice actors. And then they make it all pretty and send it to them, and then they sell it. You know what I mean? So all the genres of voiceover work that you want to do, you need to look at them through the 3 portals. Based on the genre, which portals are used to cast which genres. So that's the setup. So Amy, to answer your question, how do you get your footing in the animation realm in regards to bookings and also agent submissions? So the first thing is, do agents cast cartoons? Yes, the big ones, the stuff that you're going to Pixar, Cartoon Network, the big stuff. Yes, do they do that? Can you book animation work on online casting sites? Yes, there are tons of opportunities for on online casting sites for primarily non-union animation work. Can you book cartoons through the direct marketing portal? Yes, these are lower budget, lower visibility stuff, which is here in the United States, but is also in Europe and Asia, all over the world, South America. So there are things to be found. Now, if you are fresh out of the gate, you just got your training, you just got your animation demo, don't even think about sending it to an agent anytime soon. Why? You may be brimming with talent and you may have gotten great training, but you don't have any understanding of the market yet. You also don't have a portfolio yet. You also don't understand, and this is the most important thing, you don't have any project management skills, because the odds are most of you who are early in your voiceover journey are never going to see the inside of a professional recording studio. The vast majority of your work you're going to do through your entire career will be recorded from home. And that's not a bad thing. That's just the technology has evolved to the point that there are casting opportunities for everybody, regardless of where they live. You don't have to live just in New York and LA to get casting opportunities. So that's fine. You need to learn how to audition for gigs on a performance level. You need to understand how to read a script, break it down quickly, and understand why this character is saying this line this way, which is a part of reading the casting specs, which you cannot solely depend on, as Anna can tell you. You also have to build your own life, build your pre-life, all of that stuff. You need to develop your microphone technique. You need to develop your rate negotiation technique, your communication technique. You need to have a retake policy in place. You need to develop your ability to record using your DAW. You need to be able to edit, format, deliver files. That's all the project management stuff. Everything that comes into your inbox from the moment that you get the audition to the moment that the check clears. If you can't do that, you can't have an agent, period. You can't. So despite your talent and eagerness, I strongly recommend that you take that animation demo, you go on online casting sites, you start using Google and LinkedIn as your friend. You start looking for animation companies, local, regional, international animation companies, and you start developing your audition skills, bidding skills, recording skills, file delivery skills, project skills. Don't worry about the agents anytime soon. You will know when you're ready for them. Anna will tell you if you're ready. Anna will tell you if you're ready for them. The industry will tell you if you're ready for them. So You got to walk before you can run. You got to develop the skills, because here's another thing, and I can attest to this. Agents don't make you successful. Agents make you more successful than you already are, and enhance your already successful voiceover business by giving you access to casting opportunities that you cannot get on your own. Okay. And anybody that comes to me these days, well, how do I get an agent without experience? And experience without an agent is a lot of nonsense, because portal casting sites, portal direct marketing, focus on those, develop your skills, not just performative skills, but all the project management skills. That was a very long answer to a very important question. You have anything to add on to that?
No, I think you said it absolutely beautifully. And, it's interesting because my teaching, I really focus on all the creative side of things. And sometimes people will ask me technical questions, and I say, you know what, I'm not the gal for that. You need to book a session with Tom, book a session with Frank Verderosa, book a session with Nick Ciavati, book a session with someone else who can really tell you all the technical things, because that's not my area of expertise. I mean, I obviously can do it for myself on my end, but that's not my thing. So I love doing all the creative stuff that I can do endlessly, and I feel like very confident I can help everybody do better reads, create better characters, get their own library together, all of that. But what Tom says is absolutely essential, because what a nightmare to book a job, even if it's a little job, but maybe it's a big job, and then be doing the job from your home studio, your closet, whatever, and you keep peeking out, or you keep dropping out, or you don't. I mean, my God, just the idea of it makes me sweat,
Yep.
That would be so nerve-wracking. So just like anything else, you need to be ready to do the job on virtually every level, creatively and technically.
Yep.
And I think Tom answered the question here about if you can have a career in the Midwest. Absolutely, you can, because the one thing that really changed with COVID is it opened up the world to being able to be not in LA, New York, Chicago, or Atlanta or Dallas to do all those big jobs. You really can do them from anywhere. Again, if your booth is together and if your technical skills are up to par.
Right.
And that's kind of an exciting thing.
Right.
It wasn't always the way.
Some studios, now that I will never say I don't know if we're ever going to be in a post-COVID era, but we're in a COVID endemic era where it's just, it's just a part of our lives now, is that many of the big studios in the metropolitan areas have gone back to in-person only, but not all of them. Some of them have. Not that the other ones haven't seen the value, but many of them seen the value of, there's no reason why we can't do a Source Connect session and put them on and get them directed. So, I will say, absolutely, she's right. There are more opportunities than there used to be in the, which I think is a really ratty name, the flyover states, which really is a disservice. I lived in a flyover state. I lived in Iowa, and I loved Iowa. And I like the corn side of the Crispix better than the rice. If you're old enough to remember that stupid commercial. But yes, you can have it. I mean, there are some things like the real high-end Pixar stuff, and there may be time. There are still some limitations, but there's a lot less limitations than there used to be. So you can have a viable animation career if you don't live in New York, LA, Dallas, which is a big one, Chicago, Miami, or a couple of other places. So yes, you can, Bridget. Avery asks, I also wondered about the relationship between actors and animators. Do actors shape their character for the animation, or do animators shape the character for the actor instead? Why don't you tell me a little bit about storyboarding, which is probably a part of this process.
That's so interesting. It's I would say it's a little bit of both, often when you get an audition, you're working with a character, if you've already been cast, often they've started to storyboard the character. They kind of know what the character looks like, kind of. They know if it's fat, if it has a long nose, if young, old, whatever. And so then a lot of times they've cast your voice based on feeling like you can inhabit that character. But then when you're actually doing the recording, as we talked about earlier, they get ideas on how to have that character move and all that based on how you're creating the story with your voice by dealing with the text. So I think the strongest relationship is really between the actor and the writers of the text. And the animators, of course, are important there, certainly, but the text also gives you a lot of how your character behaves. Now, if you're doing dubbing, for instance, a lot of foreign dubbing, there's a lot of that. Everything's already drawn completely, and you're just trying to match how that character is already moving. You know what I mean? And if it's a big character, you know, you might have a little teeny tiny voice as to make it funny. Like I once played an elephant, and the voice of the elephant was the tiniest voice you ever heard in your life, and it was hilarious because you don't, if I say so myself, because you don't expect that, right? So sometimes you get storyboards where that are more thorough than others. Sometimes, and it's more common now, when you're actually recording something, they've got cameras on your face, and I'm not talking about stop motion. Sometimes they literally just have a camera on you, and they're watching your expressions and the way you move your face, and then they integrate that into their final thing. So everything is kind of, you know, there's stages of animation matching the animation to the voice, and it really is a back and forth kind of thing. I don't think there's any, you know, definite, you know, 20% is this, 10% is that. I think it depends on the project, but there's definitely a relationship. What do you, does that sound, is that your experience, Tom?
It totally is, because I've done facial mocap for video game work where they put the helmet on you, and they've got the camera right there and the lights right there. So, you know, they want you to react a little bigger, you know, when you're doing that, because that whatever you're doing with your face is going to wind up in the video game. But I was also going to say, if y'all want to look for the best examples of this, there are tons of YouTube videos where you can see the voice actors in the studio, and then sometimes it's a split screen where you see the voice actor recording it, and then you see the finished product of the cartoon character. The best one of all time, and I could probably guess this, is Robin Williams as Aladdin.
Oh, amazing.
Where you want to talk about the most amazing marriage of character development and, you know, storyboarding. And I mean, you know, I don't know if any of the lines in that script were originally written down, or he just went, you know. They were delightful, because I'm sure all those impressions he was doing of everybody. I mean, if you go to there's a script website where you can see all the scripts. I would bet you if you go and find that original screenplay of Aladdin and then see what the finished product is, it's probably, I don't even know if Night and Day would justify how far apart they probably are. But gesturing, all that stuff. Yeah, I
wanted to mention something too. It's very fun. One of my favorite things is to work with people on efforts in animation. And efforts are not a sound effect. You know, an effort is you're being punched or you're getting punched. You're running, you're laughing a lot, you're jumping. You know, one of my favorite things is I tell people a little trick about if you're doing a jump effort. So it's so natural for people to go, like just one little, if you're really jumping, if you make it 2 syllables, so much more interesting. Because the truth is, when you jump, you squat down and then you go. You don't just stand, you know. So little things like that, or if you have efforts for punching, you know, a lot of times people will do 3 or 4 in a row, and they'll do them all the same. And one of the tricks is to use different vowels for punching. So instead of just going you can go you know, give them all different sounds based on vowels is really good. And a great video to watch that's an extreme version of all these efforts is Hugh Jackman doing the Wolverine stuff. Oh my goodness gracious, he is beat red. He is sweating like a maniac. He's got the claws on, you know, but it's really fun to watch, and it's really encouraging to not be shy about doing those efforts. Also, depending on the context, you know, are you in a small place, a big place?
Right.
But efforts is a really fun thing. You can watch a lot of those on YouTube as well. People doing those things.
Very cool. Let's see what else we got here. How legendary is Jane Jenkins CSA? I personally love Jane for Harry Potter, Transformers, and Jurassic Park. Has anyone worked with Jane Jenkins CSA before? Have you?
I don't think I have, actually. Shocking.
Me neither.
I don't think so. Darn it, we're gonna have to change that, Tom. Now
we gotta get booked right now.
I have a new to-do. She's very legendary.
Can you get her online too? Thank you.
She's well known for really liking actors, which of course is phenomenal. You know, she's very well known, and people. She's got a very good reputation for being kind and for being a very good director. You know, in terms of her being specific, which is what we all, you know, we all hope for, obviously.
Absolutely. Kristen says, hi, Tom and Anna. Metrics for success. What do you recommend in terms of number of auditions a day or week, and a good ratio for auditions to book projects? Okay. So this is the advice that I give my students, is that Your job as an effective voice actor in the 21st century is to feed the algorithms. Feed the algorithms of search engine optimization, Google, Bing, Yahoo. Feed the algorithms of online casting sites, and feed the algorithms of social media. How does Facebook work? Why does it work the way it does? How does Twitter work? Why does it work the way why it doesn't? What you need to do on those platforms to get the humans and the robots to like you. So when it comes to auditions, if you are early in your journey, you need to be auditioning 10 to 15 times a day between all three portals. If you have representation, if you're on online casting sites, if you have direct marketing contacts, you need to be auditioning 10 to 15 times a day. And you need to expect booking 1 out of every 100 to 150 auditions to start out. So if you're booking 1% or 0.5% of your auditions starting out, you're doing okay. Now, I do breakdowns of my auditions and stuff every year. How much money did I make? How did I get the auditions? And when I'm booking 1 out of every 50 to 60 auditions, and I've been doing this for 25 years, I know I'm doing okay. So now this is part of audition and pray should be part of a balanced breakfast of any voice actor, in my professional opinion. If you're doing nothing but auditioning and praying, you're ignoring 80% of the rest of your business. There's also marketing and research and attending conferences and, learning, growing, adapting, evolving, and all that other stuff. But yeah, 10 to 15 times a day, and expect a 0.5% to a 1% booking ratio to start out, because you're feeding the algorithms of the casting sites that you're working on, but also you're learning how to audition. Mm-hmm. It's incredibly important, because there's a difference between auditioning for a gig and booking the gig on a number of different levels, both technical and on a performance level. So understanding how to quickly break down a script, record it. Now, here's the other thing, everybody, and I hear this for all of my students and a lot of people early in their voiceover journey. It takes a lot of people 30 to 60 minutes per audition. You should be doing it in like 6 minutes, yeah. Right?
I was going to say, if you're doing more than 4 takes of anything, I promise you it's a diminishing return. It really is. Now, it's very important to be your own best director, so you can recognize, oh, that's a good take, that's not a good take. And again, how do you become your own best directors? I just can't emphasize enough. Watch actual commercials. Watch on television, not just radio, not just YouTube, not just what you hear on Pandora. Those are typically a little more hectic, a little more frenetic, a little faster, because they're designed to get your attention while you're doing something else. Big, giant campaigns, big national campaigns. It's great to watch national TV commercials. You can watch them on the site ispot.tv. I recommend to everybody, just as an example, listen to, say, 5 car ads in a row, 5 under the same umbrella. And you're going to hear the difference between Lexus and Subaru and Ford. They're very different. They're all conversational, but they're 3 people having different conversations. I always joke around that one of my students did a Lexus ad, and I said, what do you call that? Because I encourage everyone to title the different kinds of characters so you can be specific. And he came up with the best name. He said, I call it the I've earned it guy. I've earned it. Is that great? Because Lexus is quiet and confident and smooth and a little bit arrogant, right? So it's fantastic. And that's very different than, Jeep Wrangler, which I like to call a guy with a hat. Think of it as a guy's got a hat who's like leaning over the fence going, hey, come on, listen, come look at my car. We're going to go pick up a grill and we're going to have beer. Come on over. So they're both conversational. But they're different conversations from different people. And the biggest mistake I find with people not knowing when their audition is competitive is they don't listen enough to what's on the air. Not that you ever want to copy anybody, but it's important to know the genre, in the on-camera world. Say you want to do hour-long TV, Billions is very different than Law and Order. They're both hour-long, they're both drama, they're both serious. Billions is all that people talking very quietly in a very strange way, and Law and Order is its own animal. So it's important to have a strong reference of what you're trying to accomplish. And then you can hear it. You go, oh yeah, okay, that's great. That's good. But it should not take you more than 3 or 4 takes. I absolutely agree with Tom on that one for sure.
It's also like, it's the same thing applies to theater. This performing in the style of Shakespeare versus the style of performing Chekhov, 19th century Russian, versus a Pinter play, or a Moliere restoration play, or a Greek tragedy, or Edward Albee, or whatever. You need to understand the medium. You need to understand need to understand what muscles that you need to flex to be able to do that particular style. And for one of the best ways to learn how to reduce your auditioning time, it's not talking faster, improv classes. Improv classes are one of the most powerful tools that you can have as a voice actor, because it teaches you to make strong decisions quickly. And making strong decisions quickly in voiceover is it's so critical, because when you are playing a character, unless the character has rehearsed the lines and then walked into a room and said them, they've never said these words before. They are just coming out of their face based on whatever they're thinking or feeling or experiencing in the moment, And also, Annis, I'm sure you've heard a ton of auditions. I've heard a ton of auditions, and 95% of them all sound exactly the same, with the same exact inflection at the beginning of it. And most people will listen to the first 3 seconds of your audition and go, nope, 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 because they're looking not necessarily something different for the sake of being different, but they're looking for something engaging.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it is a very specific, the audition muscle is a very specific muscle. I am at my desk at 7:30 in the morning, and between 7:30 and 8 a.m. every morning, I'm auditioning, and I usually get 5 or 6 auditions done in that time. The only reason it takes a little longer is because I'm probably on YouTube looking for how to pronounce the company name or the product name or something like that, because not that it should matter, but I make it a point to make sure I pronounce everything correctly, because that could make the difference between getting cast or not getting cast, which is nonsensical. Because if they like the performance, they can tell them the correct way to pronounce, the ankylosing spondylitis or whatever the condition or the drug is, you know what I mean? But people are weird. So I'm happy to take a couple extra minutes, go on YouTube, find the pronunciation, because that will increase my chance of getting cast. And making decisions quickly and trusting yourself. Trusting your training, trusting your genre proficiency, trusting your improv skills, trusting your recording skills. This is important stuff, because also no one's going to be listening to more than 5 seconds of your audition, really, unless you're doing something really engaging, or it's something that they're going to pass around and laugh at the office. Right? So,
oh my God. That's rough.
So that's
rough.
But that doesn't mean I'm wrong.
Doesn't mean you're wrong at all. Yeah. I always tell people there's always something you can do with the first 5 words of any audition. There's always something you can do with the very first 5 words. And it usually has to do with pace, almost always, because so often people start their copy and about halfway through, they kind of get engaged with it.
Yep.
Right. They start kind of, cautious, for lack of a better term, or they dive in, and then it gets more specific. So be very specific from the very beginning. Now, this grass stain thing.
I assume that's for you, because I don't know what they're talking about.
I'm like, what is Bill talking about? So now I remember what he's talking about. Okay. So this is if it's okay with you, Tom, I'll just tell this quick story.
Go for it.
So you don't have to do this on every audition. This is a longer story. So sometimes you get copy that it's not any way that you would ever talk in real life. And I had a student who was actually at an on-camera audition, voice audition, and they were a live audition, and they were very frustrated. The audition material was so lame. It was literally this. It was, don't stress about that. It was a coffee stain. Don't stress about that coffee stain. This new Tide, stick will get rid of that in a jiff. And she said, my God, the casting director just kept saying, well, I don't believe you're talking to a friend. I don't believe you're talking to a friend. And this poor actor said, I would never use the word jiff. I would never say don't stress. I didn't know what to do. I was lost. And I said, okay, well, let's just imagine. Because I sometimes, if copy's challenging, I'll say, what is the scene I'm actually in to make it conversational? Like literally, where am I? Am I in a living room? Am I in a bar? Where am I? So I said, well, what if your girlfriend's over? She's getting ready for a big job interview. You've helped with your resume. You've gone through a mock thing. She's wearing this beautiful white shirt. And on her way out, she has one last sip of coffee and goes, "Ugh," and the coffee hits her shirt, and you see her face freak out. You might say, don't stress about that coffee stain. And then you just got the thing. This Tide stick will get rid of that in a jiff. Like, you would be in a situation where you actually might talk that way to somebody. And that's where you can use your imagination a bit. You don't always have to do that, but sometimes you come up with stuff where you say, wow, I mean, I don't even know how to start this. And that's when you can really use your imagination as an actor to give yourself a whole little scenario of like what's happening before you actually say what the text is, like what's going on to get you in the right mood, the right tone of voice, the right attitude. So I think that's what Bill was talking about. I hope that's what he was talking about. I don't know, but
if it wasn't, I love that story. That was great.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Avery says, how does Disney manage to have such a successful track record in the award-winning animations like Moana, Beauty and the Beast, and The Little Mermaid? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think, I became an actor because I have such respect for writers. And I thought, well, I can never be a writer. I mean, that's too amazing a talent. But if I'm an actress, I can be related to writing. Maybe I could be expressive with writing. I can be, I can be involved with writing, kind of. So that's really why I became an actress. So I would say one of the reasons Disney is so incredible is because it starts with the writing of the stories. They reference a lot of fairy tales, a lot of psychology. I'm not sure who exactly put it out, but Inside Out is a great example of something that was so brilliant. All the voices in the little girl's head and in everybody's head, and how they pulled upon classic archetypal stories, and then they modernized them, right? And they made them for everybody. So I think it starts with the writing, and then of course the animation is beautiful, but I think the writing and then the voice acting and then the animation, in my opinion, that's the order of importance and why they have so much success.
I agree. The Disney movies, one of the reasons why they are so award-winning is because they explore the human condition.
Yes.
And they do it in a universal way. With Up, we're all afraid of getting old. We're all afraid of being alone. We're all afraid of losing a loved one. Like everybody, we all have emotions. There are times when we are, happy and sad and angry and
sad,
joyful,
mad, glad, scared, and afraid,
and disgusted.
Sad, mad,
disgusted.
Yeah, disgusted is
disgusted.
Good one.
Yeah. These are they deal with universal themes,
yes.
And they manifest them in such a just brilliant way that speaks to the 8-year-old and the 80-year-old. And so I said human condition, and you talked about the psychology. It's the exact same thing. It's the exact same thing, exploring the human condition. And that's what, notice they don't call them kids movies anymore. They call them family movies now. Have you noticed that? And there's a branding element. That was a conscious decision from a branding perspective. But, the movies that they make now, grown-ups go to see. It's not like an hour and a half of torture for the parents while the kids are watching fart jokes. You know what I mean? Sure, this is good. Yeah, I'm always up for a good fart joke, but you know what I mean? But like, it's stuff that like tugs on the heartstrings for everybody, So I think that's really the key. Avery also has a question for Anna. You have playbills in the background. What's the best play currently running in New York City? Same question for Tom. Great question. What do you think?
Well, I don't think it's running anymore. In terms of a drama, it might be Top Dog Underdog was absolutely phenomenal. It's was written by Susie Laurie Parks, won the Pulitzer Prize 20 years ago. They did a revival of it. I wasn't sure. I saw the original one because I've been around. And it was a stunner, an absolute stunner. So Top Dog Underdog. And by the way, all of these Broadway shows, you can see them up at Lincoln Center, at the Lincoln Center Library for free. You can go in and watch them. So you can go watch all of Mark Rylance's shows. You can watch everything with Janet McTeer. You can see all these things. I saw recently, I'm not a musical gal per se, but I saw Some Like It Hot recently, and I loved it. Such a good time, phenomenal acting. And in a way, it's funny. The characters are very broad, like you would find in animation, very broad characters, but they are grounded. You know what I mean? Their intentions are clear. They are heightened, but honest. And so that show, I would just highly recommend. It's glamorous. It's beautiful. It's funny. It's about something. It's all those things that you want a musical to be. It's
That's
really,
based on
really
the
great.
Jack Lemmon, Tony Curtis, Marilyn Monroe
Yes,
movie.
it is. It's kind of a cousin, I would say, because
Mm,
it's got a integrated cast.
mhm,
The movie was all Caucasian, and this is a more integrated cast.
sure.
And so it's not a direct, the no one can be Marilyn Monroe, of course, but the actress who's playing that character really makes it her own and is phenomenal and fantastic. So it's really, really great. I
Oh,
highly recommend that one.
okay.
And then for straight plays, what have you seen lately, Tom? I
Well,
mean,
that's the thing. I mean, I haven't seen a Broadway play since before COVID, and the one I did see was King Kong.
Oh,
Now, I got it now. I went with a very good friend of mine, and he got free tickets because he went to a Yankee minor league game and they were handing them out because the show was closing. So he's like, hey, you want to go? I'm like, yeah. So we got some dim sum and then we went to see King Kong. And let me tell you something. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun seeing the giant
yeah.
20-foot tall puppet by a dozen people, and it's like leading in the audience and snorting. It was an amazing spectacle. I had a fantastic time. And after we left, I know why it got bad reviews and it closed, is because after I walked out going, oh, that was a lot of fun, I didn't remember a single song. I did not walk away humming or singing anything in the entire show. I enjoyed every song while I was hearing it. I enjoyed watching the actors perform them, but it was completely forgettable. The only thing I remember, frankly, is the monkey.
Is the monkey. I did think of one straight play that's playing right now, straight as in a drama.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. It's another revival, but boy, is it good. The Piano Lesson. It has phenomenal actings by August Wilson. It's beautiful. Really great, powerful, powerful. And again, it's about something. I think that play also won the Pulitzer Prize. So they're both within a block of each other. So I would recommend those two very highly.
All right, we have time for one more question. So Amy asks, do you have daily practices aside from audition to stay at the top of your game and keep your skills sharp? What do you do? Or do you do anything at this point, in all fairness?
No, I do a lot, actually. Well, you know what? My teaching, and I'm sure you find this to be the case too, my teaching keeps me fresh, keeps me engaged. It really does, because I give out homework every week that's basically research homework that I do myself every week, so that I'm up on what the different styles are, what the different things are. Bob's Burgers is very different from Archer, which is very different than BoJack Horseman, which is very different from Bubble Guppies. Right. So at minimum, I take 45 minutes a week to watch. I would say I split it half and half. 5-10 minutes of cartoons that I know that are like the top 10, cartoons and movies. And then I'll watch 3 or 4 things, 5 minutes of them, because you get an idea pretty quickly of things I've never heard of. Like I'll go to Nickelodeon. Oh, what's that show? I'll go to Adult Swim. Oh, what's that show? Oh, what's that? So I'll do a minimum of that once a week. And then once a week, I also do the thing with commercials as well, where I watch, this week I'll watch, say, okay, things that are young mom products, Pampers, Huggies, Fisher-Price toys. This week will be cosmetics, Maybelline, Lancome, all that. So if you do that consistently, even if it's just 45 minutes on each of those once a week, in a month, you'll be very current on what the different styles are, and you won't be thrown for a loop when you get some specs that are very confusing and vague. You'll know what Jennifer Lawrence sounds like. You'll know what they mean when they ask for Anna Kendrick. You'll know what they mean when they ask for Matthew McConaughey, because you'll have heard it. So I do that, and then I teach almost every day, like definitely 6 days a week, 5 to 6 days a week, different things with different people, and I coach on auditions. So that keeps me going. That keeps me very busy. Yeah.
Cool. For me, since the majority of my work is e-learning explainers corporate, now the e-learning and stuff, I don't really audition for it anymore because I've got so many legacy clients. I'm just doing the work. But explainers, for example, I audition for almost literally every day. So there's not a lot of moving parts with these particular ones. For me, with explainers, just as an example, is I understand that there's 2 archetypes of explainer commercials or explainer videos, which is meet Anna. Anna has a problem. She wants to do this, but she doesn't know how. Then she discovered this. It helps her do this, 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 and this. Get this. It's great. That's one bucket. And then the other bucket is the international coffee industry is having problems distributing its wares to clients all over the world. With this new form of software, now you can track every pallet of coffee, no matter where it goes, make sure that it's fresh and it gets to the right place on time. So it's like basically just looking at a script and be able to go, okay, this one's Meet Anna. oh, this is coffee distribution issues. And then reconciling that with if there's a storyboard and if I'm being, if it says looking for a hip, edgy, conversational, excited guy, or this is for an audience purely for software developers. It's like, okay, so I'll be a little more clinical, but I'm still, but no matter what, I'm one person talking to one person, helping them out with this one problem. Hey, I know this can be a problem for you, but if you go get this app and download it, all of your coffee distribution problems will be solved in no time. So on and so forth.
So fantastic. And I love those two examples because of course the specs would be, explainer video, friendly, talking to one person, but the difference when you see the text, when you see who it's for. So
exactly.
And I mean, those could not be more different. And they're both absolutely fabulous. No wonder you work nonstop. It's not a surprise. Not a surprise.
Thank you. Okay, so we are at our hour. So everybody, thank you so much for your fabulous questions. Anna, if somebody wants to work with you, what do they do?
Oh, it's so easy. I'm going to give out my website, which is called voiceforward.com, as in voice, take your voice forward. And that lists all my classes and different things and more about me and, examples of my work. And then also you can email me directly at Anna, ANNA, voiceforward at gmail.com. And
cool.
Let me know that, you heard Tom and I talking or how you heard about me. Because again, I don't really do any advertising per se. So it's usually friends of friends of friends who end up working with me because it is a generous community. That's the other thing I wanted to agree with Tom. It's the most generous of all the acting communities that I'm a part of. The voiceover acting community is very generous, big-hearted people. And I think a lot of it is because there is so much work and there's kind of no competition because there's nobody like you.
The successful voice actors operate from a position of abundance.
Yes.
The ones that are screaming all the time on the Facebook voiceover groups are the ones who operate from a position of scarcity. Yes. So just remember, like we said, there's plenty of work for everybody. And if you would like some help navigating the voiceover industry, horrible segue into promoting myself, is you can go to vostrategist.com and you can book a free 15-minute consult with me. You can check those out. I also have a video library that covers every business and marketing topic. I also have a mentorship program, which is if you need help on a weekly, monthly, or bi-monthly basis, if you need help navigating the voiceover industry, setting your goals and staying on track, you can check out my mentorship program. So again, Anna, thank you so much.
Every one of those.
Thank you.
All of those things from Tom. Everyone.
Thank you. So this was so fabulous. Thank you so much for coming on to my little corner of the internets. And everybody, thank you so much for your fabulous questions. Please go to voiceforward.com. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel where I have little nuggets like this, as well as my video blog and other bits of information. So thanks again for coming, everybody. Stay cool, stay safe, and happy voicing. Bye, everybody.